Hello there, welcome to this video on the energy problem and the petroleum solution. Okay, I think I may have come up with a solution to the world's energy problem. Basically, the solution is to combine solar furnace and coal-fired power stations together. The solution came to me as an inspiration when I was working on a special type of insulator, and I believe that insulator, which I'll get into later, may be the solution. But right now we have a problem in Australia with our coal-fired power stations. They've reached end of life, and we really don't have an instant solution. There was a big hope for nuclear power would take over. The coal-fired power stations in Australia, and possibly around the world, they're extremely polluting. They're very costly to run. They have an input cost that needs to fuel these things. So, as I said before, nuclear power looked like it was going to be the answer until Fukushima came along. I think that was the icing on the cake for the end of nuclear power. And we also have this disruption in the world at the moment now with a lot of unrest, and mostly the major cities of the world who are running nuclear have a nuclear bomb installed. So there was a whoops moment, wasn't there? Never thought of that. Who would have thought of putting having a nuclear bomb already installed? So basically, coal-fired power stations are out there, and 1975 was the deadline. Anyone after that, anyone putting one in 1975, that was considered stupid. Japan, after Fukushima, is looking like there's an estimate now of $10 to the $12. Massive amount of money to clean up this disaster. That's if it gets in the Pacific Basin. Japan's at the brink of compulsory radiation testing for every export they have. So that's the facts on where we're up to. It doesn't look good. If you want to look at the spiritual side of the earth, the earth is made basically of everything living on this earth is basically constructed around the beauty of the semiconductor carbon. And if you look at the biological carbon at the moment, we have, and you consider I've drawn up an electrical circuit, the yin and yang, the dead carbon, the living carbon, the earth and the sky. And the depletion layer between the two, if you look at them as a transistor, a carbon-based semiconductor transistor, we have a disharmony, and the earth is not in harmony with its living and dead carbon. Also, the move is now to go to solar, and obviously that's the logical choice. If you're going to put a nuclear reactor somewhere, you stick it 150 million kilometres away. Yeah, that's a nice place to put it, nice and safe out there. And we already have one out there. It's called the sun. So let's use that. Solar energy, no input costs, zero input costs. Lovely. Trouble is, it's early infancy yet. So the concept I have is basically a coal-fired power station will heat either a liquid salt, but I had designed a copper slug, a 20 ton copper slug, copper ingot actually, and it goes into a power station. The only modification of the power station is the heat exchanger. The boiler, the existing coal-fired power station uses the existing boiler, but there is a changeover, which I'll get into later. So we can have our existing coal-powered fire station and using trains carrying coal from one side and the solar furnace from the other side coming in, and we can keep these coal-powered generators going for another 20 years with slight modifications and refurbishing them as they go. These things are located in prime locations, and their real estate is so valuable with their infrastructure, articulating the power line. So it's not really economical at the moment to shift these things or go to any other form of power in Australia. So I'll just leave that now. Now let's go on to the next section. I'll get a bit more detail into the design of the insulator and how it works with this interfacing to this solar furnace. Right, just before we go into insulator in too much detail, I'll just go through a bit of theory on insulator theory. There's three major methods by which a substance can lose energy, and that's convection, conduction and radiation. So if I was to take a cylinder or container of hot water at 100 degrees Celsius and the outside temperature was 25 degrees, the three methods that this would lose energy through would be convection, which would be the circulating of the water. Conduction would be the losing energy to the outside of this container, and radiation would be the electromagnetic radiation radiating from the container itself. So to stop this method we've come up with a method to standard insulator, which is called based on the thermos flask, which are these things that you got from the picnics, and when you went on picnics. This is a really nice one. It's made from glass. They're hard to get at the moment, and mostly they're stainless steel now, but this one has this double wall of glass with a reflective container which cuts down the radiation. You also see cups made of this stuff today, which is this double skin, which cuts down these conduction and convection, keeps your coffee hot. The formula for this is called basically a one vacuum unit. So it's based on, it just gives us a unit of one vac of a thermos flask. So to increase the insulation properties of this vacuum flask, they, instead of having this shiny mirror-like surface on the inside, they're starting to use things called photonic crystals. And what they do is they actually cut down this electromagnetic radiation, leaving the flask. And that's sort of where I got into a little bit. So by lining this inner wall with these photonic crystals, we can increase the vacuum properties of this flask. Right, this is typically how the train would look. I'm using a steam train here just to give you, because it'll be quite apt for the application. We'd have our insulator carrying ingot, that I can't name, word I can't say, a typical fuel oil container, and our typical coal train. This would go to the heat exchanger of one of our coal-fired power stations, and this would come all the way from our solar furnace somewhere that was heated. Just to give you an idea how this insulator works, I'll just extract it out and I'll heat it up. Okay, that's glowing red hot now. Ideally it has to get to about 1000 degrees Celsius. This would then go into the heat exchange, the insulator, and be capped and go onto the train. Just quickly go over Australia's conditions. we have, the centre of Australia is about 38% desert, which is ideal for heating solar energy applications. Brilliant sunshine, and our major cities are located around the coast. If you were to look at the heating, the amount of solar energy, the area required to heat Australia, it would be that much. To heat the world, provide the world with solar energy, it would roughly be this circle here. So that's quite a large area. So when our major cities have a unique characteristic in Australia, a lot of them are actually on coal seams. And in particular, this area here is on a very unique coal seam that has a property that's ideal for making graphene, very pure carbon in this area here. So, to make graphene. So, graphene, as you know, will be the next material of industry. So, we have electricity and carbon. What could be better? Now, our train trips from here are quite a distance. If you look on Google Maps, you'll know these are quite a distance to travel. And I'm getting roughly, with this insulator here, I'm getting 1 day's travel with 30% loss of energy. Ideally, we have to get to 3 days with 30% loss of energy, which will overcome our power line, our equivalent of replacing the power line. So, look, I won't go too much into this video. I'll make another video later on with more detail of theory and that. This is just basically an introduction, so I don't particularly want to go too much into this stage. So if there's another video, if there's any more interest in this, I'll make another video, but right now I don't think, we'll just see how it goes. So when this arrives at the power station, this would come out in, it would be extracted, this ingot, and it would then go into the heat exchanger at the power station and create the steam. So it's sort of something like this. Yeah, something like that. Okay, well, thanks very much for this watching this video, and as I said before, if there's a lot of interest in this, I'll probably knock out another video.